Hello everyone. Welcome to Difference Frames the World. We're excited to have you here as we explore different perspectives on our shared experiences. Today, let's dive into a significant issue affecting us all, the US government shutdown crisis. This kind of crisis has been linked with the Trump administration. There was one shutdown 7 years ago, during Donald Trump's first term in office. We must thank former U.S. President Biden for removing Donald Trump from the White House in January 2021, as the shutdown crisis might have occurred in 2021 or 2022, not this year. During Biden's tenure, from January 2021 to early this year, the U.S. government narrowly avoided several shutdowns at the last minute. President Donald Trump is not Biden, and he is very good at shutting down the U.S. government, just as he has proficiently filed multiple bankruptcies in the past few decades. Instead of looking for all means to avoid closing the government like his predecessor, Donald Trump uses the shutdown as leverage to achieve his hidden goals. He is the head of the government, not the president of the people and for the Americans. The layoff of federal government employees is a good thing, as he said when the shutdown was inevitable 3 days ago. The crisis showcased some of the challenges within America's unique budget approval system and the growing partisan conflicts. The functioning of the U.S. federal government requires the passage of annual appropriations bills by Congress, which authorize government spending for a fiscal year. For the government to operate, the Congress needs to approve these bills to allocate funds from the Consolidated Revenue Fund or the Treasury for programs and services. Unfortunately, when there's a lack of agreement between the two major parties, it can lead to shutdowns, impacting vital services and creating hardships for individuals and millions, in the United States and abroad. When Congress failed to pass a temporary funding bill on September 30, 2025, around 750,000 federal workers faced unpaid furloughs, and essential public services, such as national parks and research initiatives, came to a halt. This situation highlights the challenges posed by America's tripartite system, where the intended checks and balances between Congress and the presidency have sometimes turned into political games. Moreover, the Trump administration, by publicly criticizing Democratic proposals on social media, shifted the focus and blame onto the opposition, turning budget discussions into ideological battles and heightening the stakes in negotiations. Approximately 750,000 federal employees were forced into unpaid furloughs. Although essential personnel in critical roles, such as airport security and food safety inspectors, were required to continue working, delayed paychecks sharply increased their household financial pressures. The closure of national parks costs the tourism industry $1 billion per week, plunging related small businesses, such as restaurants and lodging, into operational crises. The deeper repercussions, however, lie in the ongoing erosion of government credibility. Frequent shutdowns have sown public doubt about the administration's ability to fulfill basic functions, a crisis of trust further exacerbated by President Trump's narrative blaming Democrats for creating trouble. The suspension of economic data releases during the shutdown has thrown corporate investment decisions and market expectations into disarray, creating a vicious cycle affecting both livelihoods and the economy. From a global perspective, the shockwaves of the U.S. government shutdown rapidly spread through trade and financial channels. The stalled processing of customs documents has exposed time-sensitive imports, such as pharmaceuticals and fresh produce, to spoilage risks. At the same time, multinational corporations face soaring costs due to inefficiencies in supply chain management. Financial markets will likely experience sharp volatility due to the absence of key economic data, with safe haven assets, such as gold, surging in price as investors question the stability of dollar-denominated assets. Notably, the Trump administration made a last-minute announcement of 100% tariffs on imported films at the last minute before the shutdown. This tactic of shifting domestic political conflicts into trade protectionism has sparked fierce protests from European exporters to the U.S. The Federation of German Industries warned that declining U.S. consumer demand could have a direct impact on pillar industries, such as the automotive sector, potentially creating a chain reaction of political gridlock, economic recession, and trade friction. This interplay between domestic and foreign policy reveals how U.S. political polarization has evolved from a domestic governance crisis into a global systemic risk. The Trump administration's role in the shutdown crisis exhibited stark contradictions. While using social media to place full blame on Democrats and project an image of uncompromising toughness, it failed to take substantive steps to resolve the impasse. Instead, it leveraged the shutdown as a strategic tool to divert attention from domestic conflicts and the Trump administration's underperformance. This contradiction is particularly evident in tariff policy. When the government shutdown was about to halt customs operations, Donald Trump simultaneously announced a 100% tariff on imported films, as previously mentioned. This short-sighted approach not only exposed his intent to divert attention through external conflict, but also exacerbated chaos in the global trade system. His economic nationalism policies, aimed at making America great again, such as slashing foreign aid and withdrawing from international agreements, appealed to some voters' anti-globalization sentiments but steadily eroded U.S. leadership in international affairs, making the world worse and worse again. More alarmingly, Trump normalized government shutdowns as a political bargaining tool. This institutional self-sabotage not only undermined the effectiveness of U.S. governance, but also sent a dangerous signal to the world about the dysfunction of a superpower's political machinery. The U.S. government shutdown crisis has evolved from a mere budget dispute into a systemic governance crisis, its impact extending far beyond national borders to create a vicious cycle of political standoff, economic recession, and global turmoil. The Trump administration's politicization of shutdowns not only deepens domestic social divisions, but also exports internal conflicts into global risks through extreme measures, such as tariff policies. This institutional self-destruction exposes profound flaws in the U.S. political system. When the separation of powers degenerates into a tool for partisan warfare, the governance capacity of a superpower can become completely paralyzed by internal fractures. History warns us that all citizens will ultimately bear the costs of political polarization, which severely impacts the livelihoods of federal employees, corporate supply chains, public services, and even international stability. To break this cycle, the United States must rebuild a political culture of rational deliberation, rather than treating government operations as bargaining chips in ideological battles. Trump's role in the government shutdown was multifaceted and complex, reflecting both his statutory presidential authority and personal political strategy. Trump publicly emphasized the president's final authority over budget approvals. Under the U.S. Constitution, a presidential veto of a congressional budget bill directly triggers a government shutdown. While this authority is legally constrained, Trump has tended to wield it as a political bargaining chip. During his first term, he used 35 days of shutdowns to pressure Congress into funding border wall construction and other priorities. Many Americans know this. According to a poll conducted by The Washington Post on the first day of the 2025 shutdown, 47% of respondents blame Donald Trump and his administration for the crisis, for surpassing 30% who think Democrats are at fault. When Donald ran for the 2024 election, he promised to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours, and it turned out to be a political joke. To hide his administration's inefficiency and divert public attention to other areas, he needs to think big to capture Americans' attention. Nothing is more alarmingly explosive than the shutdown of the superpower government. Trump views shutdowns as a means of political cleansing, threatening to fire 2.2 million federal employees to drive government reform. He leverages shutdowns to pressure Democrats into giving him what he wants, just as he did with the massive wall between the U.S. and Mexico, one of his greatest political legacies from his first term. The 2018 shutdown lasted 35 days, and it is unclear how long the 2025 shutdown will last, allowing Donald Trump to realize his explicit and hidden agenda. Interestingly, the U.S. stock market has not been adversely affected by the shutdown. The U.S. federal government does not have as much influence over the country as many people thought. People should consider whether the U.S. federal government is necessary and if the country can become better without a divided, flip-flopping administration every 4 years. Now the world's two superpowers, the United States and China, are both on leave. However, Beijing is celebrating its 76th anniversary, and the Chinese are enjoying paid holidays, unlike those in Washington, who either work without pay or with a delayed paycheck. October 2025 is unforgettable. Happy National Day for Chinese people, and happy shutdown day for Donald Trump.